Welcome into Side Sessions here. Steven Strom, Jack McMullen. We are joined here by a special guest. Of course, it is Kyle Stowers. We're happy to see you. A little late today, but there was a good excuse. How are you doing today, and how was the drive in today?
Yeah, a little bit trafficy. You know how Miami driving can be. Thank you for having me. Excited to do this.
I honestly just want to start here. People, I think fans. We have a 6:40 game tonight. We're recording on a Monday. Is it Monday? It's just we just played baseball today. You just forget.
Night games are Mondays and day games are Sundays.
And I know fans aren't this naive to think that you just show up and play, but maybe they think you show up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What does a day look like for you today on this Monday at a 6:40 game?
Yeah, I'd say 6:40 game. I'm usually getting to the field no later than 1 o'clock. For me. I got a pretty extensive routine that I've developed this year. It wasn't always this, I don't want to say regimented, but I've just added so much mentally to getting mentally ready to play, in addition to what I was already doing physically to get ready to play the last couple of years. And so for me, really in a perfect world, even getting to the ballpark in the parking garage by 12:30, 12:45, so I can hit about 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation in my car, and I'm listening to worship music on the way. For me, it's just kind of getting outside of myself on the way to the field, and then I'm usually probably in here about 1 o'clock to either eat or get in the tubs, and there's a number of other things I do throughout the day, but I'm getting here pretty early. So
now, in terms of mindfulness meditation, do you go through a guided meditation, or is it one of those where you just sit and focus on your breathing? Because I do the guided meditation too, and I'll tell you, legit life changing.
Audio, like an audio person talking to you?
I have it in my earbuds,
nice.
And I have a 10-minute meditation that I try and do every morning, and it's beautiful.
Cool,
yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so I do the Daily Calm on YouTube.
Nice.
It is guided, and for me, I like the guided because it helps me actually stay more focused. I think if I were to just set a timer on my phone and do 10 minutes of breath work, I think I wouldn't be as productive.
You might fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and if you fall asleep, napping is the ultimate form of relaxation.
It's good.
So sleeping is about as vulnerable of a state you can be in. So I think it wouldn't be the worst thing.
So you mentioned the tubs. I assume some hot and cold, in terms of getting your body physically ready to play every day.
Yeah, so
what does that look like?
It's 2 minutes in the cold tub for me to start before getting in the hot, and that's mental for me.
Full body. Cool.
Yeah, up to my chin, and that's mental for me. That's again, it's another form of just getting present. It's challenging. I mean, you hear me, the staff hears me, the training staff hears me complain about it every time I'm getting in there, and it's and for me, it's like I'm building up that desire to not want to do it so I can get over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's starting, you've heard starting your day by making your bed. It's the same type of thing.
Did you put your face in the ice bucket?
I dunk. You go full in, and it's I sit there for about 2 minutes to just again get present, get over something that's challenging through the day, and I just feel so much more clear after that. And then I go in through the contrasting to get the physical part ready, and it's just kind of like my safe haven in that tub room.
There are a lot of guys that kind of push themselves to limits that they didn't know that they were going to get to. And I read a great article on Joe Musgrove 2 years ago, and he worked on holding his breath underwater, and he trained with legit Navy SEALs to try and push his boundaries physically to hold his breath underwater. Is that kind of that hump you're talking about? Hey, let's get past discomfort, so any discomfort we feel on field is going to feel secondary?
Yeah, I think it's something about the first thing of the day for me. It's exactly that. Probably not as extreme as some of that stuff it sounds like that Joe did, but it's just doing something challenging so that how it is, the baseball, how the game is. It's very challenging, and there's a lot of days where things don't go well, and so for me, it just feels like, we want to visualize having success and that the day's going to go perfect, but the reality of it is so many of them don't, and so I want to be prepped to handle when stuff doesn't go well, and for me, I think that's where it starts.
Sure. So Kyle, I was thinking today's June 2nd, again recording on a Monday. You're close to your 1-year anniversary here. Yeah. It's crazy to think. I remember, and we're going to the place that was your first game in Tampa.
Yeah.
I remember that whole day was crazy, and you came in, and Connor wasn't with. Connor got optioned, but I remember when you came into the clubhouse, and it was like a ghost town because so many guys have been traded. But when you think about that moment to where you are now, man, What kind of comes to mind through this journey?
Yeah, I think that was a crazy day. I think I got to the field at like 10:30 for the 12
I didn't want to
game,
say that.
and
Okay.
I think about 45 minutes of it was talking to you guys,
Yep.
media,
Yep.
and then shaking hands. And I think I had about 45 minutes to get ready and go play.
It was crazy. It was a 12 o'clock game, and there were so many different guys in the clubhouse. We didn't know if guys were going to be here, but
And
Kyle
it's like
came
we
in
need
late.
9 guys on the field.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much the turnover was for the team. And so to answer your question about looking back at that time, when I left the Orioles, from a career and player standpoint, it was something that I felt like needed to happen. It felt like, I was blocked there, or just wasn't getting the opportunity that I felt like, I had earned there.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't, I guess, as much about me or them. It was just there's so many good players, and for whatever reason, just the timing didn't work out. And so I knew it was kind of that time for a change. And what was tough about leaving there, though, was the relationships I developed with those guys. And so to again, getting back to the question, my point I'm making that is my favorite part to look back at that time is to see how close I've gotten with these guys here.
Sure.
In this year, and then obviously even less than a year with the new staff, and so to be in a position where I feel more supported than I've ever felt from players to staff to media to like everyone. I've never felt this like just collective belief in me from outside of from people outside of myself. And so and that was happening before things started going well.
Right.
That was happening in spring as I'm wasn't playing my best baseball. And so it's just so cool to look back at that time, because I didn't realize how quickly things can turn.
I want to get to you playing your best baseball in a moment, but you teased it a little bit. Is the change of scenery effect real? Like, because you said you felt like you needed it. There are some guys where you think, okay, they may just not be fulfilling their potential. But like, I almost feel like that breath of fresh air is a real thing for someone like you.
Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time in Norfolk, and I think, like I said, the home run, AAA home run record.
Right. Which is a record that no one wants.
Yeah, and it was like, exactly. It was, it's a total double-edged sword. It's like, okay, it's great that when I was there, I played well, and then it's like, man, like I really was here for longer than I felt like I should have been. And when I say change of scenery, I guess I don't necessarily mean like, I have nothing but love for the Orioles organization.
Sure.
Like Mike Elias, everything that they did there. I mean, I've felt like I wouldn't have got to where I was, where I am now without them.
Yep.
I would say more change of scenery, and the fact that like I think my biggest fear, along with probably a lot of people's biggest fear, not just in this game but in life, is that you don't get the chance to maximize your potential.
Of course.
And so I think that was where the change of scenery was, like to get the chance, like like last year, the second half, like I was pretty bad, but like it was on me. You know what I mean? Like I was like when I was failing here in the big leagues in the second half, like it's like, okay, well, at least I'm playing.
And you get to live with
They
that.
played you every single day.
And I can live with that. And so I think that was what the change of scenery for me meant, was like, hey, like let's see what I can get out of this game. And
Sure.
And whenever I finish playing this game, I mean, hopefully it's years and years from now.
Right.
But I just want to be at peace with it. And I think obviously that doesn't get to happen for everyone. But anyways.
And I know you just admitted that you didn't have the best start to your Marlins career. I won't name names, but I talked to different coaches on the staff from last year, and they said Stowers going to be all right. Like, you shouldn't be worried about Stowers, which now we're kind of seeing, like, reaping those benefits. But you mentioned spring for a second. You are the smiley face on the cereal box of spring training numbers don't matter, because it was rough, right? Like, you even said it was rough. What is your relationship with success and failure in baseball?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think I definitely operate with this. I don't know, for bias. My brain goes to this fear of failure, right? And so, what I thought, looking back on, just all my years of playing college, these moments where I got over the hump, there was almost like this letting go of this fear of failure that I didn't realize was that, like, I remember multiple times, like in my sophomore year of college, I had was coming off a bad freshman year, and this sophomore year started the same way. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I'm just not good enough to play at this level. Maybe it's just
Jeez, man.
and
Crazy.
And I started playing well right after that.
Right.
In the Cape Cod League that summer, started horrible.
Falmouth Commodores, right?
Falmouth
I remember.
Commodores, yeah.
I was the guy in Brewster. I was the announcer in Brewster. So I was like, who's this Stowers cat? He can hit, man.
Started off horrible, and I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe I just can't handle the best competition in the country. And then I remember in Double-A, I started off really slow in Double-A. I mean, and I was like, well, like maybe it's just Double-A baseball is too good for me. And yes, I'm not advising kids or people in college
to think like this.
I'm not good enough. But what I realized was when I stopped putting that pressure on myself and I let go of, okay, like I accepted the fact, like if this is it, then I'm okay.
Which is so much easier said than done to actually do.
Yeah, and so that's like the big thing that I realized this spring. The one thing, if I could say I did one thing or two things well in spring, is I drew walks. I think for the most part I was swinging at the right.
You did have a good walk rate.
Yeah, and then second, I felt like I was the same guy as I've been having success, and I think a lot of people in the clubhouse will attest to that as well. And so what I realized in spring, because I had, Clayton, I had, Peter, I had everyone, saying all these like great things to me, like very affirming things. And my crutch for the longest time was, if I just had coaches or a staff that believed in me, then then I'll figure it out.
Right.
And what I realized in that moment, as I'm, getting all this affirmation from the staff and not playing well, and I'm like, oh, like there's something else, there's something deeper. And it caused me, I was spending a lot of time journaling. That's part of my, not a daily routine, but something that I try to incorporate as much as I can.
Sure.
And what I realized in that moment was the only person in my life who wouldn't be okay if I didn't have the career I think I should have is me. And it's not my family, it's not my teammates, it's not the people I love and care about. Everyone else, no one's putting this like, hey, you have to be this amazing baseball player.
But you almost feel you owe them, and it's like a responsibility to like put on for your people.
And I just realized it was coming from me, and so that was a kind of a huge moment for me to go, okay, well, I'm getting in my own way, and so that's how can I get out of my own way?
Sure. We've gotten so granular in evaluation, both like media and executives, just like the way that you look at Kyle Stowers, right? And it's cool, number one, to hear that perspective, right? Where it's like, hey, you're the only one where like a 2 for 3 day versus an 0 for 4 day is like really going to impact your entire day. But we've also gotten granular in the sense of like, this is year one for me here. I came in and it was like, kind of known, it was like, oh, Kyle struggles with high fastballs. How good did opening day 97 upstairs feel? And then how good did 102 for a walk-off grand slam feel?
Yeah, that was, I felt like I've spent, the last, since 2019, like 2020, the last 5 years working on the fastball.
It's hilarious because that's all we talked about, right?
Yeah.
So opening day, the funny thing about the opening day one was if you kind of look at it, like, so my swing was still very, very lofted, and so like I kind of clipped it weird.
You look surprised when you hit it.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. It was like I looked up because like the way I was like attacking it was not, I guess, probably the way you teach to attack it, and I truly felt like that was a God moment for me because like I like at first was like, wait, where'd that ball go?
No, I was down. So I was down there looking at. I obviously was on like close to the field because if we won, I obviously go on the field and do an interview. And when I saw you, kind of like, I don't want to say half swung, but you kind of like this, and then you're like, whoa! And then you like look down this side, you threw the bat, and I was like, oh wow! And
I was, truly out of body moment, which is cool because
so
like, it
cool,
just felt
man.
like it was on
to
accident.
Start the season like that.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was like just a little bit of an affirmation of all the stuff that I was working on during the spring that hadn't quite, come to fruition yet. The one off Mason Miller, that one is that's another one that is just.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh, for sure the Mason Miller one. Yeah, that guy is an incredible pitcher. And not only was it, elevated, it was elevated and away, and like just like probably the best swing of my life. And I don't think I'd ever gotten a base hit on a pitch over 100 before. And so just all those things, again, for me, another God moment. It was, just what was really cool about it was I felt so, for both those moments, like I just like, I didn't feel like I had to come through in it that moment. I just like was so excited to just be in the moment. And a lot of people asked me after both of those was like, how do you, I guess, relax yourself or in pressure moments, how do you, get yourself ready? And for me, it was just like, I've been in those moments before and you're actually kind of in them a decent amount, leverage moments, like, whether it's 7th, 8th, 9th, 1-run game, chance to flip the score, whatever. You're in those pretty frequently.
Right.
And
especially this team.
Yeah, exactly. And so, just to have the opportunity and to be okay with the opportunity. And what I didn't do this for the opening day one, but I remember just like as the inning was unfolding against the Mason Miller one, I remember just saying, okay, like this is gonna get to me. And then you kind of always have this check as a hitter when you're not expected to hit that inning, and you see the inning, you're like, okay, well, do I want this at bat at the end of the game?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I want this at bat.
Cool.
And I go, okay, what do I want to do, or what do I think's gonna happen? I go, well, I train every single day on this heater machine that like is as fast as I possibly can make it, and I hit it well. I go, so I've trained for this. And in the on deck circle, I remember thinking a couple things. One quote came to mind. I think you guys remember hearing me saying was,
it's on our radio wall.
It is.
You don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your preparation. And so, like, I just felt so relaxed. I just felt like, like I was just so present, and I visualized two outcomes. The two outcomes that felt most likely to me. One was strikeout. It was like, okay, like, well, he could very well strike me out.
Sure.
Bases loaded in front of everyone.
Two,
I really felt like there's like this realistic possibility that like I would hit like this line drive single up the middle. I don't know how, like I had so much conviction in that. I was like I could see that really happening. And what's cool about that is usually in those moments you think the home run, the big hit, and it felt so simple. It was just like I could see like just turning one right around up the middle.
Sure.
And I accepted both of those results.
Cool.
And so like beforehand,
one of the most powerful feelings in the world is acceptance.
yeah,
Yes.
is beforehand I go, okay, I can, if either one of those happened, I'm okay with it.
Yep.
And I just felt like this genuine gratitude of just like to have the opportunity to be in that moment, and I was okay if I failed in it.
Cool. I have chills.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Go ahead, take it, man.
What do you mean?
No, that was amazing. And I don't even know how to like segue into, I have stuff that I, want to ask you. And I guess like, I don't know if you talk like this last year with us. Like, I feel like you've grown so much as a leader, and we've talked about who's emerged in these hitters meetings, and your name always pops up. What does it mean to you to be a leader, and how have you seen yourself evolved in that space?
Yeah, I think in high school, I and anyone, well, I don't know if anyone from high school will be listening to this, but if they are, they'll probably kind of roll their eyes a little bit, because I felt like I was a very, I don't want to say raw, but like I tried to be a leader, and like,
okay.
I was like, very,
but it was inauthentic.
It was inauthentic, and hindsight, and I wish, it came from, a better place then, but so anyway, so I've always kind of had this shying away from, like leadership, vocal leadership,
sure.
And so for me, going into the year, we obviously, think our longest tenured position player is Sanchi and Fortes, who are, I think, both in their first year of arbitration.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, 3+ years of service time at most in the position player. And, we didn't have this guy like a Sandy or a Cal Quantrill on the pitcher, or like the pitchers do on that side of things. And so just a lot of conversations early in the year. And I remember talking with Carson, our bench coach, going into the year, and the conversation was about for me, I was like, hey, we don't have this type of guy.
Sure.
And he said, I feel like I know, not like how to be a leader, but I feel like I know, the way, like someone who has 10 years, the way they support guys. They're like,
sure. You had some of the characteristics maybe that,
like, just like that, those guys that have 10 years, like they are able to get outside on themselves. They've been through it a long time.
Yep.
And I'm not saying I don't have those. I objectively don't have those characteristics, but there's a level of truth that someone can speak, whether or not, you've had that career or not.
Sure.
And the conversation, I guess, was kind of a bit around like, hey, well, if truth is truth, then like, you can be a leader in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's always been one-on-one, individually, like relational with guys. And then I've kind of started to become more vocal. And it's been something that, like, honestly, it's been very challenging for me within these hitters meetings, but I've just tried to do it in a way that is like, and kind of you alluded to it, that it's just like very vulnerable and honest, and like I didn't talk like this with people last year.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to do this year is just like hey, like there's a lot of things like when again fear of failure, like I get nervous before games, stuff like that. Like that stuff's very real, and so I'm just trying to portray that in a way so that like whether it's kids watching,
Sure.
whether it's guys in the clubhouse, like I think what we forget is that if you're feeling something, probably someone else is too.
100%.
And so I've just tried to be vulnerable in a sense about my fears, about what I struggle with, in hopes to like empower myself and to empower teammates to maybe also, like, because when you're vulnerable, you start to see past the player and you start to see more into the person.
Right.
And if you can create an atmosphere of 26 guys plus staff, so let's just call it 40 people,
Sure.
who genuinely love and care about each other as people over their career, I think that type of environment has the ability to be something genuinely special. And that doesn't always mean wins and losses on the field, but special in the sense to all learn and grow and fail and succeed together, and that's genuinely what I want for this place. That's what I think would be super cool.
I think one of the best abilities that a Major League Baseball player can have, and just a pro athlete in general, is the ability to listen and absorb. And it seems like you're really good at that. And you were in AAA for, I think, longer than you should have been in Baltimore, right? And you were around a lot of guys that I think are very good AAA vets. And you probably learned some of those organic leadership skills from those guys. I'm blanking on the name of like the first baseman, third baseman that was in Norfolk with you in 2023 and 4. Bigger guy, hit for some juice, who I'm talking about.
Is it Kobe Mayo, the prospect?
It's not Mayo, older guy, like 30 years old.
Coop. Coop was around for a bit.
Yes, yeah, but like, no, there was another one. But I'm just thinking, like, you were around a lot, like, of AAA vets that probably taught you how to like organically lead, and maybe even showed you, I've been around the block. This is what I've picked up. Did you pick up leadership skills from other people, whether it was in Norfolk or in Miami last year, this year?
The guy that I really think about, one leadership for me, is James McCann, who I spent time with in the big leagues. And he spent, time he was with Tigers, and then he was with the White Sox, or Mets, then White Sox, then Orioles.
And everybody that's met him says he's going to be a major league manager in like 5 years.
I think he's going to be a manager. I really do. The way he treated me, like 22, when I debuted, I was very uncomfortable in the clubhouse, and not because of anything anyone did.
Yeah.
Just because like it was a new environment for me, and I wanted to stay out of people's ways. And when McCann came around, I genuinely felt like I could be myself in the clubhouse because, like, he and I had a really good relationship.
Yeah.
And he was, the leader of the team. And so that's a guy I really think about, just how hard he worked. Like I said, when I was talking about the 10-year guys that are able to get outside of themselves, even when he wasn't performing, he had this ability to just like look outward.
Yep.
And like check in on other guys, and what I found for myself is when I do that, it's like, man, like almost like my issues become smaller.
Sure.
And when I focus more on my own issues, they become much larger.
Sure.
Right. I got 2 more. All-Star game. Sorry. Wednesday, the voting starts. You lead this team in home runs, RBIs, walks, OPS. I know you don't think about this. I know you don't. You care about it maybe, but what would it mean to you to represent this organization that you've talked so highly about, that have believed in you when you struck out and all this stuff during spring training, to go to Atlanta and represent the organization? What would that mean?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's one of my like bucket list things of like career that I'd like to check off for sure. So I'd be lying to you if I said it like was something I didn't care about.
Yeah.
The trap that I like fall into is like, it still feels like it's far away. You know what I mean? It's still, we got over a month, and a lot can happen in a month. And so for me, I don't know if it's like you're scared to jinx how you're playing or whatever it is,
I get it.
But yeah, it'd be special. It'd be obviously something that is validating to the work you put in. Something that, you can't help but think about, the second half of last year if something like that were to happen. Can't help but think about all the people who have believed in me and then so it'd be really cool. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. I still think that I have the chance to be a really good player, and so for me it's just getting back to today. What can I do today to just help this team win and to just be in the clearest headspace possible for today's game, and generally when I just believe that God promises us enough for each day, and so if I can do that one day at a time every single day, then whatever happens I can live with.
I'm gonna vote for you on Wednesday. Are
You and me
are
both,
you in?
man.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote.
I'm in.
Last one for you, man. You talked about just this group feels a little bit different. These coaches, it kind of goes beyond baseball. You guys support each other, whether you guys are 0 for, whether you guys are 4 for 4. Why should fans be excited about this group moving forward into the future?
Yeah, just look at we've had a couple games where they've been bad, right? We've probably brought in a position player 4 times, which those games stink. Those games stink for everyone. There's not games that we're okay with as players, and they're not games that the staff's okay with. But, there's a lot of games where, I know everyone says this, it's how the baseball works. You feel like you could have a few more wins than you do, but I think genuinely, I think we're playing playing quality of baseball that is just under 500. And I know we're about, I don't know if it's 10 or whatever games under 500, but I feel like it's more reflective of the baseball we're playing of 3 or 4 games under 500. And the reason why I think that matters is because we're a couple plays away every single game. Yep. And sometimes it's not the 9th inning. Sometimes it's the 6th and 7th. Sometimes it's the 5th. But we're a couple plays away every single game from winning. And I think that matters because when you see these teams that are winning, when I was with the Orioles and we were winning, it wasn't like we were blowing teams out every night. You're every single game's within 3 usually.
And you're just finding ways.
And you're finding ways to win.
Yeah.
And so for us being a younger team, these mistakes, they're really good for us, right? I had the ball against the Cubs that I biffed. We've had other plays where it's hey, if that play's made, we have a very good chance of winning this game. And I get it, mistakes happen, and so we're learning from that. And I think you're gonna start to see a lot of that stuff just clean up over time with this as this group grows. And I think that's why I'm excited because every single day, it feels like we have a chance to win. And we come into this clubhouse every single game when we have our hitters meeting, hey, it's we can win this game, and what do we need to do to win this game? And that's very exciting.
Kyle, last one from me. We're on the heels of a West Coast trip where you went home and you played in San Diego. What was that like?
Yeah, it was very ambivalent hindsight.
Did you play for free?
I kinda. No, because my family pays me back. They're good about it.
Sure, okay. But how many friends came?
Yeah, if I had to conservatively estimate over 3 days, I think 150 is a very conservative number of family and friends. It was a very big challenge for me. Anaheim was close to home, but easier because it was a little bit more. San Diego is a big challenge for me. If I'm being honest, what I didn't realize was how many people would be trying to get my attention and pregame and BP during the game. During the game is fine because 40,000 people, you don't really hear anything.
Right.
During BP was a little bit of a challenge of people that I hadn't seen in quite a bit of time, and I wasn't really anticipating that. And something that I think you hear a lot of guys talk about their homecoming, and I think it's kind of the message that you hear after the fact is it's a lot, and everyone kind of goes through it, and so it was a little bit of a challenge, but at the same time, it was so special to just get to play there. I just remember walking into the stadium for the first time for the series and being man, I've sat here, I've sat here, I've sat here. I've been at every angle of that ballpark. I saw, I think number 755 for Barry Bonds there.
Dude.
I saw Trevor Hoffman, I think tie or get one away from the all-time saves record. I've been there for walk-off home runs. I was there in September when, they were out of it and no one was there, and felt like one of the 200 people there. It's probably a little bit more, but so it was just really special to get to do that, and then at the same time excited or happy that the first time is over with, and I'll be able to handle it better moving forward. For sure.
Dude, thank you so much for being vulnerable, real, and we appreciate you obviously carving out time for us. I know you're busy, but go get them. I'll be voting for you on Wednesday, and we shall talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.